Hi, everyone. Dr. Kell Fujimoto, Senior Director of Wellness at San Francisco Bay University. And today we're doing episode 13 and talking about graduate student success and wellness. I'm excited about my guest who is joining us here on the Wellness Octave, Ermelindo Hernandez, who is a graduate student success counselor at San Francisco Bay University. Now, whether you're listening while commuting, working out, or watching while you're relaxing at home, thank you for joining us. If you find today's episode helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe, or share it with someone who might benefit. Sometimes one conversation can make all the difference in the world. Now, my guest today is Ermelindo Hernandez, a graduate student success counselor and a dedicated mental health advocate who is passionate about promoting student well-being. He earned a Bachelor of Arts in Multicultural and Gender Studies and a Master of Social Work from California State University, Chico, and has over 5 years of experience in higher education. Ermelindo specializes in trauma-informed, holistic, and culturally responsive practices that empower first-generation, international, and historically marginalized students. His work is rooted in advancing equity, fostering belonging, and supporting student success. Welcome, Ermelindo. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. I am thrilled that you are here and thrilled that you are a colleague of mine and we're working
Mhm.
together to support our students at San Francisco Bay University. So, Ermelindo, in addition to what I just described about you, I often find that sharing our journey can help many students, right? Particularly students of color or first generation students. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yes, thank you for asking. Well, just a little bit about my journey. I'm a first generation graduate myself. I'm the first in my immediate and extended family to even obtain a master's degree. And I'm going to be obtaining my doctorate in the future. So I didn't grow up with a roadmap, right, for navigating higher education, even though my family always talked about the importance of accessing higher education. However, they didn't know what that looked like, right? So mentorship for me was it was a requirement, right? Not recommended. So I
Mhm.
did learn a lot through trial and error. When I even got to college, I left 10 hours away from my hometown. So the transition of being homesick, transitioning into the college environment was really hard. And I even questioned my own self in college, right? Especially in graduate school, where there's symptoms of imposter syndrome, financial stress, and the pressure of balancing family expectations while pursuing my college education. So it was important for me to surround myself with mentors. I didn't even know I wanted to obtain a master's, but through mentorship, that made it possible. And I even surrounded myself with mentors who had doctorate degrees and
Mhm.
PhDs. And I'm like, if they can do it, then I can do it too. So those are the experiences that shaped me today. They taught me that success is not having all the answers. It's about the importance of seeking help. Seeking help is actually part of strength, right? And
Yeah.
breaking those stigmas of not reaching out for help. So my journey was falling in love with working with college students through my own experiences working in diversity centers and cultural centers and mentorship, making sure that undergraduate students were getting the vital resources for those who wanted to seek graduate school. So I've been in a lot of hats in college, and I landed this job, and it's been a roadmap ever since.
Yeah, yeah. I appreciate you sharing all of that. It's so important how mentors come into play, right? The value of mentorship and having mentors and how they can guide
Mhm.
us, provide us some direction and support. I mean, I can also think about my mentor when I was in my undergraduate, process and how that helped me. And you were up in Chico, I mean, all the way up in Chico,
Yeah.
and how that helped you as far as adjusting and everything like that, right? Um, so now, yeah, so now you're currently like a mentor here at San Francisco Bay University, and you work as a graduate student success counselor. Tell us a little bit about the work that you do here and how you weave wellness into it.
Yes, so I am a graduate student success counselor here at SFBU. So I support graduate students through their academic journey, whether that's navigating coursework, adjusting into graduate school, or even managing life and responsibilities, as well as planning their 2-year roadmap. One thing that I always tell students is that academic success and wellness are intertwined. I believe that success comes with sustaining success from taking care of ourselves. So one thing that I try to normalize in our conversation is the importance of a well-balanced schedule. I have students wanting to take, all their specialization classes in one semester when they still have electives or foundational courses. So I make sure that I have conversations about stress, burnout, and mental health, as well as reaching out to at-risk students, right? Making sure that they are reaching out, making sure how we can better support them, whether that's even referrals to wellness or referrals to other services that we have here. Not a lot of students reach out for help, and I think it's a little scary for a lot of students. So
Mhm.
having those conversations early on and having those conversations about the importance of academic success, it's all of intertwined. It's collaborative effort, right? Making sure that we're working with other departments on how we can better support our students. And I also believe that student success isn't measured just by graduation. It's measured by how students feel supported, connected, and empowered throughout the process here.
Amen to that, right? I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I you said it really well. I mean, I think with college students, a lot of it might be well, a lot of it is timeline, right? They feel like, oh, I have to do this in a certain timeline, or maybe there's financial reasons, and so they're stacking up their courses, right? And part of it is there's some good in that because, you know, they're getting through their degrees quicker. However, there's also that balance of knowing what your limits are or knowing, when to maybe slow down a bit and take care of yourself and all of that, right? Because as you mentioned, yeah, it's all intertwined, right? And taking care of your health and your wellness helps you be successful academically. Being successful academically can also take care of yourself as far as your wellness and all of that, right? So, appreciate you sharing that. In the work that you do with our graduate students, I imagine that students open up a lot, because you're having conversations with them, and they're sharing with you some of their struggles. How do you assist them? How do you support them with those students who maybe start opening up with you and sharing their struggles?
Yes, thank you for that question. The first thing is I like to listen before giving advice. Some students just want a mentor just to listen, or there's a student who just, wants validation or external resources, right? So it's important to build that trust with that student first. So many students are necessarily looking to, solve all their problems when they come into academic advising. And then from there is I identify what strengths that they bring into the table and how we can better support them and connect them with the appropriate resources. Not a lot of students know that there's emergency grants here. There's a lot
Mm,
of students who stress about finances. Finance is a big stressor, not just for first generation students, but for international students as well. So that's also, directing them, like I mentioned, through financial resources, disability accommodations that can, feel a plan that seems to be more manageable. I'm also a mental health advocate. So I recognize that wellness is not a one size fits all, right? Every student is different. They all bring different things into the table. So my approach is rooted in empathy, cultural humility, and meeting where students are. And I think that's an empowerment, a powerful thing that we can offer someone is to, show empathy for students, show that we care rather
yeah.
than, just sending them straight to the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes all we need to do is just spend time, right, and listen and be present with them. And that can be so beneficial for them, right, to then take that step and feel empowered to take the next step, right, and get service, whether it's getting services or trying to resolve it on their own and all of that, right? So, um, what do you think? There's so many things happening in the world, right now, a lot of things happening in the world right now. What do you think, graduate students, in your opinion, what's impacting them? In addition to their academics and all of that, what do you think is impacting them regarding wellness and what would be some of your thoughts about that as far as how you would help support them and guide them?
I think where graduate students are struggling with wellness is obviously those who come from marginalized communities or even students from first generation backgrounds where mental health is seen as taboo, right?
Mm,
Where there's a lot of stigma of reaching out for help. I identify as a Latino, and it was really difficult for me even to reach out for help when I even got to college. But it was really important that I broke down, that stigma where, it was really important for me to kind of reach out for help. And I understand that, graduate students do carry a lot of unique pressures. They're not just balancing, their academic life, they're also balancing finances, internship, research, and family obligations. I know that a lot of graduate students even navigate family achievement guilt, which means feeling guilty for pursuing a college education potentially because their parents or their guardians, didn't seek that education. They feel guilty for moving, states or cities or counties to, access an education. So my advice for students is viewing self-care as something that is critical. Wellness is really important that it should be part of your routine and it should not be rewarded. Because if you don't, take breaks or if you don't give yourself that grace, then, potentially your body will give you that sign that, hey, let's slow down. Um, so I believe having those conversations with students is really important.
yeah. Thank you for sharing the fact that, your identity and the fact that you sought out help, and to reduce the stigma. I think as a mentor, we have to model, right, and share these so that we do break down those stigmas and those concerns that maybe students have around seeking help or around mental health or anything else for that matter, right? So appreciate you sharing that. Um, from an academic perspective, and putting on maybe like that cap of being an employee in an academic setting, right? What do you think campuses in higher education can do, um, specifically relating to graduate students, to support their wellness?
Yes, from what I've noticed is higher education tailors most of their services for undergraduate students,
Oh,
is from what I've noticed. I think higher education campuses need to really think about what resources are out there for graduate students, right? Graduate students enter a new discipline and a new program where they might need accessible resources such as, graduate studies tutoring or just spaces where just graduate students can seek services, right? And I believe that ensuring mental health services need to be accessible to reduce, barriers. And it's also really important to train faculty and staff about the signs of distress where graduate students can be coming into loopholes, right? And I believe that there also needs to be a good flexibility for graduate students, right? A lot of graduate students are parents, they're working professionals, they're caregivers, they're parents. So there needs to be policies that acknowledge students' lived experiences so we can also retain graduate students, right? Each program and each institutions have different policies. And I believe that we need to take care of our graduate population rather than numbers, right? So I think what are we currently giving out in resources and how we can retain our students at an institution.
yeah. Yeah, those are great points. I mean, I think about when I was a graduate student, right? I was working full time and then I was going to class in the evening. Um, and also, I was married and in a relationship, and so managing that as well, family, had family responsibilities, and so balancing all of that. I didn't even think about like I didn't know what kind of services were available as far as like the tutoring, as far as like the mental health services, whether or not they were available or not. So having that accessibility is important for our graduate students and making it accessible and flexible for them based on their schedules because it's a little bit different for graduate students and undergraduate students, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. So, is there anything else you would like everyone to know or some insight that you feel like you want to share that you would want to tell students about? And yeah, go ahead. Like this is your
Yeah.
time.
What I like to tell students is that imposter syndrome is a systemic flaw, not a reflection of your worth. I know that imposter syndrome is basically not feeling smart enough or good enough or even worthy of your seat at the table, right? Graduate school is very intense and it comes with a lot of, barriers. So I do like to tell that students that imposter syndrome is a real thing, and it's really important that we seek, help, especially for first generation students who were often taught to be independent and resilient. Those are all valuable qualities, right? But resilient doesn't mean carrying everything by yourself. And also success isn't about never struggling. It's also knowing where to lean on for support. So that is something that I encourage students is to reach out for help. Reaching out for help is a strength. So yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. Ermelindo Hernandez. Ermelindo, how do people reach you? Where can they get more information or contact you?
Yes, students can reach me here at San Francisco Bay University Student Success Hub in Office 107. I also am happy to connect with students about questions, whether it's about, graduate student success, campus resources, wellness, or simply just want to talk about their goals. If I'm not in my office, I do have my QR code outside of my door where I am accessible. I'm also accessible via email at ermelindo.hernandez@sfbu.edu.
Uh, awesome. I'm glad that you shared your email because I'm sure, there might be other graduate counselors out there that maybe wants to connect with you, and talk to you about like, hey, like I like what you said. Tell me a little bit more about what you said, Ermelindo, and that way they can also enhance their or yeah, enhance their services right to their students, graduate students as well. Okay, one last question that I like to ask all guests invited onto the podcast. Ermelinda, how do you keep yourself well, and what do you do to maintain a well-balanced life?
Yes, thank you for this question. I love this question. For me, wellness starts with boundaries. There are six types of boundaries that not a lot of people know. And from what I've learned is I can't effectively support others if I'm not feeling good or just not being able to kind of put more stuff on my plate. So I make time for family, friends. I also love to be outdoors. I take weekends for weekend resets, whether that's going out to a park, read a book, just being surrounded by nature. I also practice mindfulness by traveling. So I love to take PTO, especially during the summer or even during the winter breaks where I can just be in reflection. I also practice wellness by being grateful. Every day that I wake up, I always love to think about what am I grateful for today. Having that self-reflection and self-compassion, you're more likely to have a better day and starting off smooth, because that is a good way to kind of boost our energy, boost our self-esteem. Another thing is I also learn to celebrate small wins. As professionals and even as graduate students, we're always chasing what is next. But what about pausing and reflecting? Taking time to acknowledge progress helps us stay grounded and grateful. So those are numerous ways of how I practice wellness.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Ermelindo. Everyone, Ermelindo Hernandez, Graduate Student Success Counselor here at San Francisco Bay University. Thank you for joining me here and for all the work that you do. And thank you so much, everyone, for spending the time with us on the Wellness Octave. If today's episode encouraged you or taught you something new, I'd love for you to hit the like button, subscribe, or leave a review and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Our conversation about wellness become more powerful when we all have them together. Until next time, take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit. Stay healthy, stay curious, and be well, one note at a time. Thanks, Ermelindo. Appreciate you talking to me.